Please subscribe, like and share this content. It means a lot to us. Thank you in advance. Cornell Law School. U.C.C. Article 2A, Leases, Part 5. Default. See Default by Lessee. Paragraph 2A-523. Lesser's remedies. 1. If a lessee wrongfully rejects or revokes acceptance of goods or fails to make a payment when due or repudiates with respect to a part or the whole, then, with respect to any goods involved, and with respect to all of the goods if under an installment lease contract the value of the whole lease contract is substantially impaired, Section 2A-510, the lessee is in default under the lease contract and the lessor may, A. Cancel the lease contract, Section 2A-505, 1, B. Proceed respecting goods not identified to the lease contract, Section 2A-524, C. Withhold delivery of the goods and take possession of goods previously delivered, Section 2A-525, D. Stop delivery of the goods by any bailee, Section 2A-526, E. Dispose of the goods and recover damages, Section 2A-527, or retain the goods and recover damages, Section 2A-528, or in a proper case recover rent, Section 2A-529, F. Exercise any other rights or pursue any other remedies provided in the lease contract. 2. If a lessor does not fully exercise a right or obtain a remedy to which the lessor is entitled under subsection 1, the lessor may recover the loss resulting in the ordinary course of events from the lessee's default as determined in any reasonable manner, together with incidental damages, less expenses saved in consequence of the lessee's default. 3. If a lessee is otherwise in default under a lease contract, the lessor may exercise the rights and pursue the remedies provided in the lease contract, which may include a right to cancel the lease. In addition, unless otherwise provided in the lease contract, A. If the default substantially impairs the value of the lease contract to the lessor may exercise the rights and pursue the remedies provided in subsections 1 or 2, or B. If the default does not substantially impair the value of the lease contract to the lessor may recover as provided in subsection 2. Paragraph 2A-524. Lessor's right to identify goods to lease contract. 1. After default by the lessee under the lease contract of the type described in Section 2A-523, 1, or Section 2A-523, 3A, or, if agreed, after other default by the lessee, the lessor may, A. Identify to the lease contract conforming goods not already identified if at the time the lessor learned of the default they were in the lessor's or the supplier's possession or control, and, B. Dispose of goods, Section 2A-527, 1, that demonstrably have been intended for the particular lease contract even though those goods are unfinished. 2. If the goods are unfinished, in the exercise of reasonable commercial judgment for the purposes of avoiding loss and of effective realization, an aggrieved lessor or the supplier may either complete manufacture and wholly identify the goods to the lease contract or cease manufacture and lease, sell, or otherwise dispose of the goods for scrap or salvage value, or proceed in any other reasonable manner. Paragraph 2A-525. Lessor's right to possession of goods. 1. If a lessor discovers the lessee to be insolvent, the lessor may refuse to deliver the goods. 2. After a default by the lessee under the lease contract of the type described in Section 2A-523, 1, or 2A-523, 3A, or, if agreed, after other default by the lessee, the lessor has the right to take possession of the goods. If the lease contract so provides, the lessor may require the lessee to assemble the goods and make them available to the lessor at a place to be designated by the lessor which is reasonably convenient to both parties. Without removal, the lessor may render unusable any good employed in trade or business, and may dispose of goods on the lessee's premises, Section 2A-527. 3. The lessor may proceed under subsection 2 without judicial process if it can be done without breach of the peace, or the lessor may proceed by action. Paragraph 2A-526. Lesser stoppage of delivery in transit or otherwise. 1. A lessor may stop delivery of goods in the possession of a carrier or other bailee if the lessor discovers the lessee to be insolvent, and may stop delivery of carload, truckload, plane load, or larger shipments of express or freight if the lessee repudiates or fails to make a payment due before delivery, whether for rent, security or otherwise under the lease contract, or for any other reason. The lessor has a right to withhold or take possession of the goods. 2. In pursuing its remedies under subsection 1, the lessor may stop delivery until a. Receipt of the goods by the lessee, b. Acknowledgement to the lessee by any bailee of the goods, except a carrier, that the bailee holds the goods for the lessee, or c. Such an acknowledgement to the lessee by a carrier via reshipment or as warehouseman. 3. A. To stop delivery, the lessor shall so notify as to enable the bailee by reasonable diligence to prevent delivery of the goods. b. After notification, the bailee shall hold and deliver the goods according to the directions of the lessor, but the lessor is liable to the bailee for any ensuing charges or damages. c. A carrier who has issued a non-negotiable bill of lading is not obliged to obey a notification to stop received from a person other than the consignor. Paragraph 2A-527. Lessor's rights to dispose of goods. 1. After a default by a lessee under the lease contract of the type described in section 2A-523, 1, or 2A-523, 3A, or after the lessor refuses to deliver or takes possession of goods, section 2A-525, or 2A-526, or, if agreed, after other default by a lessee, the lessor may dispose of the goods concerned, or the undelivered balance thereof by lease, sale, or otherwise. 2. Except as otherwise provided with respect to damages liquidated in the lease agreement, section 2A-504, or otherwise determined pursuant to agreement of the parties, sections 102, 3, and 2A-503, if the disposition is by lease agreement substantially similar to the original lease agreement and the new lease agreement is made in good faith and in a commercially reasonable manner, the lessor may recover from the lessee as damages I. Accrued and unpaid rent as of the date of the commencement of the term of the new lease agreement, 2. The present value, as of the same date, of the total rent for the then remaining lease term of the original lease agreement minus the present value, as of the same date, of the rent under the new lease agreement applicable to that period of the new lease term which is comparable to the then remaining term of the original lease agreement, and 3. Any incidental damages allowed under section 2A-530, less expenses saved in consequence of the lessee's default. 3. If the lessor's disposition is by lease agreement that for any reason does not qualify for treatment under subsection 2, or is by sale or otherwise, the lessor may recover from the lessee as if the lessor had elected not to dispose of the goods, and section 2A-528 governs. 4. A subsequent buyer or lessee who buys or leases from the lessor in good faith for value as a result of a disposition under this section takes the goods free of the original lease contract and any rights of the original lessee, even though the lessor fails to comply with one or more of the requirements of this article. 5. The lessor is not accountable to the lessee for any profit made on any disposition. A lessee who has rightfully rejected or justifiably revoked acceptance shall account to the lessor for any excess over the amount of the lessee's security interest, section 2A-508. 5.